Hey all! So today I want to talk about how you can embrace your ethnic beauty. And the reason being is because I'm seeing a lot of darker skinned women, specifically from the Black community, who, to be fair, just in general, it's not really exclusive to darker skinned women, but just anyone who is an African descendant of some sort, especially those that live in the West. We tend to compare ourselves to the Eurocentric beauty of standard. And we realize that we essentially will never be able to match up to this Eurocentric beauty standard because it was never made to include us in the first place. So I think that when it comes to actually liking how you look like, you really need to embrace where you are actually from. And that starts off with looking at who your ancestors were and how they looked like, and looking at their features and looking at your features and seeing the resemblance and seeing the similarities. This can be done in a simple Google search. If you're not too familiar with the ethnic group that you are from, search for like pictures of women from your specific ethnicity, tribe. If you don't really know your tribe or ethnicity like that, maybe you can look into the culture that you're from and look at how the women and the men used to dress, and again, look at their facial features and really admire. Well, you may not admire them now, but you'll realize sooner than later that these are the features that have been passed down from generations and generations. And it means that those features were liked enough and loved enough for them to be passed down over centuries and upon centuries. One of the observations that you will also be able to make by looking at women and the people who you descend from as well. And then from there, you can go down a rabbit hole where you'll be able to learn about the different beauty regimens that they used to practice, that you can also implement. So, for instance, the use of aloe vera to treat various skin conditions. For instance, if you have boils on your skin, apply some aloe vera on that boil, and you'll see within like the next day that boil would have gone. And that's one of the things that you will be able to pick on as you go down that rabbit hole of searching on your ancestors. And you can also look into how they dressed as well. What was the type of clothing and the colors that they used to use. In Europe, the colors don't seem to be quite as colorful as a lot of African communities have their cultural attires um, to look like. Um, in Europe, it tends to be in just European centric places. The colors tend to be a lot more muted and more neutral, and that is completely fine. But I know for many African countries and African communities and ethnicities, the use of vibrant colors was very common. And the richness, the colors, and the vibrancy was a really poignant thing that is something that is quite noticeable. So that is also something that you could also implement within your everyday life. You could wear certain colors that may represent something within your culture, within your ethnicity. So that's how you can start off by embracing your ethnic beauty. Another way that you can embrace your ethnic beauty is by looking into your DNA composition. So, although a lot of us, again, are of African descent, that doesn't necessarily mean that we are 100% from the country that we are said to be from. And obviously, this is due to many reasons: migrations, different tribes intermarry with other tribes for various different reasons. Lifestyle, different communities happen to live in the same areas. There are so many reasons. So, of course, that's going to affect over the centuries how your DNA composition changes. And for instance, I'll pick a region, for instance, in East Africa, the region that I'm from. It's a pretty diverse region because we have an amalgamation of pastoralists, we have farmers, agricultural people, as well as hunter-gatherer groups. And then within those categories, there are so many communities and ethnicities as well. Um, so and all these groups have interacted with each other, so that's led to there being a group of mix, not even group, but groups, different groups with various different admixtures and things like that. So for instance, you could take a DNA test depending on how comfortable you feel like in giving that sort of information out to these big corporations. And you could see what you get in your results and see the different compositions. And once you see that you have like certain admixture that you may or may not have been aware of, you can look into that admixture and look into the culture and look into the history of where the admixture derives from as well. So then you can also do something similar as to what I pointed out in the first tip, where you could also implement some of the cultural practices from that specific admixture into your everyday life. And this will essentially make you a lot more inclined to like who you are for who you are and be more focused on having higher self-esteem. Now I do know that there is a slippery slope where people like to claim their admixtures more than the actual majority of their DNA makeup. And this can lead to what we call hoteps. So, and have a think about that. And I understand that, like, depending on like the ethnicities that you are, some of those admixtures were not taken up. Well, some of them admixtures were as a result of like very unpleasant events. So I completely understand why some people would not be really into doing this into practicing or having anything to do with the admixture. But for those who are interested, I think that's something that should consider. I also think that another valuable way of embracing your ethnic beauty is by changing your social media algorithms across all the apps that you have, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, or no, or now known as X. Follow people who literally look like you. And okay, literally is probably not the best word, but follow people who have the similar features than to you. So, for instance, if you have a broad, wide nose, follow creators who have a broad, wide nose too. If you have a smaller, more keener nose, follow creators who have more smaller, keener noses. If you have big, large, round eyes, follow people with that same feature as you. Because if you are not that confident in your self image and in your self worth, especially, Seeing people who don't look like you, especially beautiful people who do not look like you, will make you feel like beauty isn't attainable for you. And when you do look at people who do look like you, you'll realize that there is beauty in how I look like. If you can spot this beauty on someone else who has the similar features to you, you will most definitely end up thinking the same thing about yourself. So for those who are a bit more fragile, I would say be a very strict and adamant in following people who only look like you. Um, and then once you build the confidence and you're less prone to comparing yourself to other people, especially those who don't look like you, then you can ease up a little bit and start following like people who look a bit different from you as well. So then you'll also be able to appreciate their beauty without having to feel like you have to diminish your own or even their own as well. So another tip that I have for you in terms of embracing ethnic beauty is to materialize the history of your ancestors. So, what do I mean by this? So, once you've done the research and you've gone down the rabbit hole of looking into what your ancestors did and their achievements, or even the ugly sides as well, um, what you can do is look into being able to educate people in to of the basically of your research findings. So if you are in university, college, what you can do is tie in that research about your ancestors into one of your essays. If you're studying social science like psychology or sociology, you could find ways into tying what you've learned about your ancestors, the attitude, behaviors, certain events, and try to relate that to the specific topic that you're writing your essay about. Or if you're studying more science, technology, engineering, or mathematics course, you could think into, are there any medicinal methods that your ancestors used to practice or still practice till this day that are worth mentioning in your research? So all this is going to help you in terms of embracing your history and also where you come from and the long line of ancestors that you have that led to you. And you will also be less inclined to look at the people's history and try to claim it as your own as well, which is something that happens a lot with hoteps. Because the thing is with hoteps, um they are just they want to claim on the people's history because they feel like their own history and what their ancestors did was not good enough for them. So whenever they see other people's history that has nothing to do with them, but it seems a lot more victorious in their eyes, they want to claim that. So I don't want you to fall into that trap, like I said. So try to materialize your history and try to again implement it in your everyday life. And as I said, teach other people about your history. So another way in which you can do this is by starting a YouTube channel. And you can walk people through all these interesting events that you have read upon your ancestors, and you can create like a whole timeline from the beginning to the current present as to how your ancestors came to be, how your ethnicity even came to exist, um, and all the various cultural practices that they practice, it'll be really interesting, not just for you, but also for other people to learn as well. And if you're a history nerd like me, I would absolutely love to watch those type of videos. And to be honest, I already watch those type of videos already. So if you do have a channel like that, or if you're planning to start a YouTube channel with those specific topics, please let us know down in the comment section below. You can also start a TikTok channel or TikTok page, as well as an Instagram page, Twitter page. The opportunities are endless. And you could also write a book or even go as far as an article as well, or even depict it in the form of drawing and painting. So these are a few ways in which you can embrace your ethnic beauty and build your self-confidence from within without having to always be disencouraged by comparing yourself to other people and the European beauty standards, which is understandable as to why people do this and why we all do this. But we also have the resources to direct that attention into something else which is more useful and more beneficial for us. So I will see you in the next one.